But Sainz's day is still not done. From pole position, he's still got a lot of work to do to carry on and take that podium. Now it's Charles Leclerc, his teammate, that's bearing down on him, and his tyres are really going. Carlos generally this year has been a little bit heavier on his tyres than his teammate, and it happened again in Monza, partly due to all that fighting with the Red Bulls as well, I'm sure. But here we go. End of lap 46. Now we're coming on to lap 47. It's the next lap, and Leclerc is trying to make the pass on Sainz. This time, Carlos doesn't cover the inside at the first corner, so it looks like almost a team orders move at this point. Leclerc has the inside, and from here, that should be enough to be job done for Charles. He's got the inside covered. Cannot see how Carlos is going to come back through at the first corner, but Leclerc's very cautious here, and he goes so deep on the brakes just to try and make sure that Sainz isn't going to come through. So even though he's got the inside line, he doesn't want Sainz to outbrake him and somehow sweep around the outside. So he goes in very deep out of being cautious of Sainz coming through the outside. But it does set up a chance for Carlos now to come through up onto the next chicane. So this is the classic position that Perez never really got to. So you've got your defending car there. That's now Leclerc who's made the move. The attacking car, Sainz, on the outside. So you prepare the second corner so much better. And now Carlos has got his teammate where he wants him. Gets on the power, his tyres are going, he's got very, very little traction, so he opens the steering as much as possible, and this was pretty hairy between the two Ferraris, barely a paper's width between them as Sainz came through, and he's put a lot of faith in his teammate, who was up on that curb slightly as well there, but they're side by side, and it's measured in the end pretty perfectly. We get into the second corner here, or the second chicane, and side by side on the way in, for me, this one's actually a really dubious move that Sainz pulls, and I'm surprised that he got away with it. He's on the inside. They both go in quite late on the brakes. Sainz has a big lock-up, and as Leclerc's trying to turn the corner here, he cannot because Sainz is steaming it in too deep on the brakes, and he cuts the corner. Leclerc tries to go again, cannot because Sainz is there, so they both cut the corner. But that is Sainz actually gaining a position without getting round the corner, and he doesn't yield again. So that one, for me, is quite a surprising one that he didn't get pinged for that. And it shows the desperation in Carlos to get what was his first podium of the season on a race weekend, which is actually stronger than Charles throughout most of it. All the way through practice, qualified on pole. He's been ahead of his teammate, but the last couple of laps, he's got his teammate putting him under pressure for a podium. He knows there's a huge amount of stress. So he sends it, and you can see on board with Leclerc here, we have his teammate there. He tries to turn in, but at this point, you just can't turn in or it's going to be contact. There already is, I think, maybe just a tiny touch there between the two. He has to turn right and then in again. So he can't make the corner because Sainz has cut it. And that's not a legit way to make an overtake. So this one was given a blind eye by the stewards, and probably Leclerc didn't radio it in, and Ferrari weren't trying to get one of their drivers punished to help the other one. So he got away with it. But a very surprising move, and George Russell got a 5-second penalty for a similar sort of offence on Esteban Ocon. The difference was Ocon didn't cut the chicane and Leclerc also did, but I think that's because Leclerc didn't have an option with the way that Sainz was on his inside. Anyway, the battle raged on. Sainz is still there in third position. We have another couple of laps of attack for Leclerc at the end of the race. Once again, we see the defence from Sainz goes to the inside, and Charles now has to attack on the brakes, but little rear lock-up there puts him off on this lap. We go again on the penultimate lap now, coming through. Almost a space for Leclerc to think about the pass this time around, as Sainz is defending a little bit later and only to the middle of the road really here, but Leclerc comes to the outside, and even with Sainz having a big lock-up, Charles now should have the chance to open up the second corner and come through, but he just takes a little bit of this orange curb here, which puts his own car off and stops him getting the run through turn 2. So as he does that, just bounces slightly, and it costs him just a tiny bit of momentum to come back at his teammate. And then we get the final lap as well, the closest that they get to colliding, just as Charles told to take no risks. Here we go. It's a classic dummy attempt, this one, from Leclerc. Sainz covers the middle of the road. Leclerc stays right the way to the outside here to just show his intent that he's not going to go for it. It's the classic dummy. Then you switch to the inside, and here we go. Comes across, and you can see now Carlos checking the mirror there. He's moving across to try and cover him off, and now Leclerc, seeing his teammate move across, tries to come back to the left, has a big lock-up, and this one was super close to wiping them both out right on the final lap of the race in their fight for third, and somehow they didn't. And Fred Vasseur could breathe a sigh of relief, because at this point it should be a done deal, even if they're both rally styling it to the end on the last lap on shod tyres, desperate for that podium. And you can see on board with Charles for this last attempt as well that he's actually quite a long way back coming into the corner. He had better chances before. That's why actually there was a bit more space on the inside. He comes in, has a look for the lunge. He's committing on the brakes quite heavily here. And there's the little jink from Sainz. Just moves slightly to the right-hand side. There's still space, but Charles now doesn't want to barrel it in down the inside. Moves to the left, has a lock-up, and that is as close as you want to come to wiping out your teammate on the last lap, particularly when there's a podium, particularly when it's a Ferrari podium in Monza. But as it was, Carlos Sainz, with driving that was on the limit, according to his teammate as well, managed to cling on to the podium. And happily for Ferrari, neither of their drivers collided, and both of them were very happy with how they raced as well. So it was good fun for them in the cockpit, and they're still mates at the end of it.
It was a very tough, very long race for me, but I gave it absolutely everything. I think today was a day to try. Probably I tried even, I would say, too hard. No, with the Red Bulls, I was pushing a lot the tires to try and keep Max behind. Then obviously that was making me vulnerable at the end of stints with a lot of tire wear and being like this on tires, but I tried, and I think it was a day that we had to give it everything. I gave it everything. It nearly cost me a podium, but in the end I managed to hold on to it.
To be honest, I feel good. I mean, I missed the podium, but Carlos is on it anyway, so a Ferrari is on there. And I would have been disappointed if it was a boring race and we just finished first, second, fourth, like we did now. But at the end, it was really, really fun. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I am sure many people did not enjoy that. The guys on the pit wall, I think, they had one heart attack or two. The Tifosi probably also, but this is what, for me, this is Formula One, and this is what it should be all the time. With Max, I've had these kind of fights in the past. Today was with Checo and Carlos. We, I think, all were at the limit of the regulation, whether it was defending or attacking, and that's exactly how I enjoy racing.